savewithconrad.com.
My name is Sergio. I'm from Lancaster in California. The motivation behind just following through with this refinance was to have a baby on the way. So just wanted to get everything in order. In the past couple of years, just afraid to pull the trigger, but then it just seemed like the right time to do it. I went to multiple banks, not only the mortgage I had, but then I went to you, and then I also went to several others. And it just seemed like your team, they were just completely honest and outright. Also, all the information was just laid out for me right there and then, answering all my questions in a timely, efficient manner. Diane was just so helpful and above and beyond accessible with both texting and emails, and just any information that they needed. She would explain to me what exactly they wanted me to send, and then if there were any issues, she was able to just resolve them pretty quickly, versus other companies that sometimes it would take a couple of days to get some information. We were looking to pay down some debt, also looking into making some improvements to the home, also build up our backyard, do everything, especially for our daughter coming. By doing this cash out, it's a good amount that we're saving, between $1,000 and $1,500 a month, I would say. It helped out tremendously as well. My name's Sergio. I'm from Lancaster, California, and I saved over $1,500 a month with savewithconrad.com.
NMLS number 2129, Equal Housing Lender. savewithconrad.com. Hey, it's Conrad the Mortgage Guy, and you're listening to My World. And of course, we couldn't do it without the Hall of Famer, the greatest professional wrestler of all time, your friend and mine, Double J, Jeff Jarrett. Jeff, how are you, man?
Oh, Conrad Thompson. We are back, my man. We had a little hiatus. Boy, the ice storm of 2026. Folks that don't know, it rarely hits. It's kind of a once every 15, 20, maybe 30 years. So you hear the weather forecasters, but we survived. Power out 4 days. Shout out to the Queen and Codes. It was a little rough going, but we got through it. Had a little hiatus. What a Ring Classics weekend we have. Man, we got a boatload of stuff to catch up on. I have no idea where you're going to start. I was rebooting some things here. Silva's all been out of shape. I mean, his T-back panties are twisted so bad right now, Connie. I hope he can get us through this show. But where do you want to dive into? And I see that you don't have your little 2s and 3s little fun box. So we're going to have us a good show here.
We are going to have a good show. Of course, it was a great show over the weekend in Atlanta. We'll talk about that in the coming weeks. We've got some big announcements, especially if you're a fan of My World, that you don't want to miss. And let me just go ahead and suggest that you start circling your calendar for maybe late May and plan to join Double J and I. Will have some announcements in the coming weeks. But in the meantime, the big news this week, and I feel like we're going to continue to talk about this for a few more weeks because there's no way we can get it all in one episode. But I just want to go straight to the heart of the matter. The guy who a lot of people feel like is the Sting of TNA.
Oh.
Whatever Hulk Hogan was to the WWE, whatever Sting was to WCW, AJ Styles was that for TNA wrestling. And you and I have touched on it before offline. I don't know that we've spent much time talking about it on the show. But even though the facts remain that AJ Styles wrestled more matches for WWE than any other promotion, it still feels like to me he's a TNA guy. And I know you work closely with him and you saw something in him very early on. And I think a lot of people would argue gave him his first big break. I know he had a cup of coffee in WCW, but bad timing there. He comes in at the very end in 2001. And well, they weren't long for that world. But do you still think, even after all the success that AJ enjoyed in Ring of Honor and in New Japan and in WWE, do you still consider him a TNA guy first and foremost?
Man, that's I had no idea you were going to start with this, but even doubling down on that, how you're framing that question, do I consider AJ still a TNA guy? I think I didn't give it any conscious thought, but I think with beyond a shadow of a doubt, you do. You when you look at the history of different folks and go back in time and really drill down on it, It is definitely where he's made his name. It's where he came into a performer. Conrad, I'll tell you a little story of what I did on Saturday. I don't think I've ever done this. So it was a crazy Jarrett household day around here. My daughter had ankle surgery on Friday, and we did ring class, or the Friday before that, but ring class. Anyway, we had a busy weekend, and so I knew I had some plans Saturday night. Anyway, I went to the gym Saturday, and Conrad, and so I'm watching. Anyway, the ladies Royal Rumble was going on. I said, I'm going to the gym, Codes. I'll be back. So Karen goes, just take your iPad. So I'm taking the iPad. And so as time would go and so AJ's match came up or was coming up. And I said, all right, I'm going to go ahead and start my workout. But anyway, I was listening to AJ's the beginning of the match, and then I finished doing cardio and watched it. And I'm thinking, man, what made me go out of my way to really, I don't say mess up a workout, but during cardio, I often watch wrestling, but actually during my workout. So I was thinking, and you hear the announcers talk about his history. And I know, Conrad, we've touched on this, but TNA wasn't really set up for house shows, certainly from 02 to 06. So, but when you really think about the formative years of AJ and coming into his own, he is the face of TNA from the very first night. He was, on show one, the first division, first X division champion. I knew from, I almost say day one, that's the real face of the company, that there's going to be a lot of things, but time takes time. And so, yeah, I mean, he was the face of the company, first Grand Slam winner, and we could go on and on about the stats, but a guy came up to me on Sunday and kind of referenced, he said, man, I saw you in here yesterday. You really went out of your way to watch some wrestling. I said, well, I did want to watch AJ. And so we kind of got into that, and one thing led to another, and then a couple of other guys joined in. But here's what was kind of tabled out of that, because there were some AJ fans in that conversation. It was brought up to me, and I said, man, that's a good way to frame it. When you really think about 2026, the modern style of professional wrestling in so many ways, you kind of think about, okay, look at the style now. And in a lot of ways, it has a lot of roots in the X division. And so the X division, I think that style of wrestling, however you want to say it, and has put his mark on it, and who's the face of it. So in a lot of ways, AJ, a lot of guys grew up on him that are now wrestling. He is the face of the modern style of wrestling. And it's ironic that you say, do I still consider him a TNA guy? I guess I do. But man, oh man, what a career. I don't think it's over, but we'll see how that rolls out. But in my opinion, that match was fantastic. I thought the ups and downs, and he's still a super, 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 super high level performer. And I think in a lot of ways, he really showed how great he was during the Royal Rumble match. And it was very cool. And it's as appropriate as you put that photo up, Silva, that old Rudy Charles, certainly a day oneer at TNA and the original OG ref of TNA, that he got to do AJ's last match. They both have quite a bit of parallel careers. You could say that Rudy was the face of the refs of TNA, and then AJ was the face of the talent, and then they moved on. And man, oh man, it was cool. I was glad they both got to kind of work together in his final match in WWE.
Yeah, listen, I was kind of surprised. I guess it was wishful thinking. We had all heard that AJ was going to be wrapping up this year, but I think when people thought about AJ finishing in 2026, they thought kind of like John Cena did, maybe December, or maybe it's Survivor Series, or we just assumed it would be later in the year. I just assumed that he would be at WrestleMania and we would know this is his last WrestleMania, and perhaps he may go into this year's Hall of Fame class. I didn't know what they had planned, but when the stipulation was thrown out, AJ was putting his career on the line to wrestle Gunther. But if AJ won, he would take Gunther's spot in the Rumble. I got pretty fired up about the possibilities of, hey man, what if they let him finish with, like, respectfully, a night one WrestleMania main event? That would be a pretty cool feather in the cap for a kid from Gainesville, Georgia, who was really excited about blowing it up in WWE and making it on the big stage, and it wasn't in the cards. We have seen, allegedly, there's a trademark out there for Gunther to be, well, I guess we assume it's Gunther, but I think WWE has trademarked career killer, something to that effect. We know that, he wrapped up Goldberg and now John Cena, and we predicted when the John Cena one happened, hey, AJ's already called it. Maybe AJ's next. They're putting a lot of equity into Gunther like this. I want to get back to talking about AJ. I imagine we'll continue to do several more pods about him this year as we celebrate his career in WWE and perhaps see what he's doing next. We'll talk about that in a moment. But
he's got some trademarks.
We'll get there. Talk to me about Gunther. Do you remember there being this much equity placed into a performer this quickly? And I'm not saying that Gunther hasn't been successful in WWE. I don't want to diminish that. But I'm saying let's go back to July. He ends Goldberg's career. Now let's fast forward to December. It's John Cena. And less than 60 days later, now it's AJ Styles. I think it's been a while since we've seen someone have this much equity piled into them. Maybe since like Roman and Cody. And I don't know. What do you make of that?
It's funny how you put Roman and Cody, because I think their journeys are so different, and I don't want to get hung up on that. But Cody had the journey and the gold dust and stardust and all that, and went away and came back, and so his journey is unique. And I think Roman was knighted almost from day one in that. But you look at Gunther and for all intents and purposes, he did grind on the indies in Germany and then Europe and really developed, and then came here. And when you look at his statistics, he's been in the system, 7 or 8 years, and a challenging time like everyone. But in the developing years, when you look at guys where he was at in his career in the WWE run, it was pandemic and those challenges. But have I seen someone? I think you have to go back to Roman. I can't really think of anybody off the top of my head, but man, oh man, they are putting a ton of stock in him. I love that. I think when you create a pecking order, if you will, this guy's on top. This guy's on tip top. This guy is the legend on, like when you really can look at a pecking order, I think it helps all parties. It literally, I think, okay, this is the role that you're playing today, and you better fight like hell, either to keep that spot or move up that spot or keep from falling down. It creates a sense of real healthy, and this is what, gosh, I've had this conversation with a couple of different folks, but when you get into a conversation with someone who's like a TV executive who is really invested in the product and their money's being spent, but they're quote unquote not a wrestling guy, that's kind of one of the discussions is that you really want a sense of competition to, I hate to say fight for that spot, but that's what it is. I mean, they are putting a lot of their eggs, a lot of equity into Gunther. I would love to kind of see what metrics they use for that. Like why he's obviously a Triple H guy through and through, and has been since day one. And I would be curious to see what is. I'd love to hear the interview. What do you see in the box office? Why put out? But I love to see. Again, I'm being repetitive, but the pecking order clearly defined, and it feels like it is being clearly defined. I think that's a good thing for business.
So when you're saying clearly defined, in your opinion, you believe WWE has positioned Gunther now as the top heel?
Not even a close second. I can't think of a close second. I think you've got a bunch of guys floating different not floating, kind of a derogatory term, but yeah, he's and almost I know Roman and Punk and Cody and everything that goes with that, but he is definitely the top heel. And in a lot of ways, when you put that much equity in a heel, and maybe there is a babyface run, but in a lot of ways it is shall I say, the face of the company?
All right, Jeff, we got to take a timeout right now to talk about one of my favorite products of all time. Of course, I'm talking about Tushy. You know, my 2026 strategy is don't settle for number 2, even when you're going number 2. I'm a big believer in this product. I actually owned a Tushy in every bathroom in my house and the office long before they were a sponsor on this show. I really believe in this product, and I want you to know that Tushy is the everyday luxury bidet. What it will do is instantly transform your bathroom habits and your bottom health for life. You see, 99% of people who wash with Tushy warm water bidets feel cleaner and fresher after going to the bathroom. Yeah, you feel fresher after the bathroom. And did you hear where I said warm water? It's awesome this time of year. Hell, it's awesome year round. Tushy e-bidets instantly modernize your daily routine and bathroom. You get the heated seat. Come on now. You get the adjustable water temperature. That's right. You want it hotter. You want it cooler. You even get a powerful yet gentle dryer. That's right. You can go hands-free in the bathroom. By the way, every Tushy bidet easily attaches to your existing toilet without the need for additional plumbing. And by the way, e-bidets, they only require an outlet. That's it. No plumbing. This is daily decadence with practical benefits. You know, if you've got hemorrhoids or you got some other issues back yonder, let me go ahead and tell you, 9 out of 10 people reduce their itching and discomfort once they start using Tushy. Instead of endlessly wiping with dry toilet paper, Tushy pristinely removes 99% of bacteria while protecting your natural skin barrier, and it all happens thanks to one natural ingredient: fresh water. Installation is simple. It only takes about 10 minutes to complete. Literally anyone can do it. I know you're going to love this. People who make the switch to Tushy not only feel cleaner, they also use like 80% less toilet paper. It's better for your toilet, it's better for your plumbing lines, and it doesn't do the inferior job that toilet paper does. You're finally going to be clean. You're going to feel the difference. By the way, every Hello Tushy bidet comes with a 30-day hassle-free return policy. You even get a 12-month warranty. I've had mine for years. Number 2 is Tushy's thing. Go take care of number 1. For a limited time, our listeners can get 10% off their first bidet order when you use the code MyWorld at checkout. That's 10% off your first bidet order at hellotushy.com with the promo code MyWorld. Let me ask you this. You know, you are obviously more experienced in programming wrestling than almost anyone listening to this, unless Dutch is listening. Shout out to Mr. Mantell. But can heels draw? Like, I know that seems silly, but I feel like a lot of times online fans use the word draw and they almost inevitably lean on a baby face. In your opinion, can heels draw money?
Man, that is, boy, you're getting into the real, to me, the meat and potatoes. The only way a baby face gets over, let's just go Stone Cold. You take the evil Mr. McMahon out of Stone Cold's career, I just don't think you have the same career. I think you just, in so many ways, touring champion Nature Boy Ric Flair, he came in and you wanted that baby face to see. So is it the song or the singer? I think you have to have the heel to draw money. But the baby face sells the tickets. And that's why, and I hear you, oh, you're talking out two sides of your mouth. I think it's a real art in this song and the singer. And the heel has to be able to play that song to build the heat, because the heel rises and the baby face, and if you just look at it visually, the baby face has to triumph over that heel. That's how the baby face, quote unquote, gets over. Literally the words, hey man, you got to go get over. Well, what are you getting over? Getting over the people? How do you get over the people? They got to believe in you. How do they believe in you? You kick ass and take names over who? The heel. So the short answer would be absolutely. They are the ones that is the foundation of the drawing of the money. But you, again, the yin and the yang, you better have that charismatic baby face. Heels can't throw money by themselves, and neither can baby faces. It just doesn't happen.
We know that WWE experienced phenomenal growth with Roman Reigns as the top guy, but with all due respect to Roman, he was a part of an ensemble cast at times. You know, the Bloodline became the wave that drove WWE to its greatest heights. But you had Paul Heyman and others in there. Gunther now is a different presentation completely. I guess my question is, do you think Roman would have enjoyed as much success and as much enduring success as a solo act, as one individual, or is that ensemble necessary to keep it going? I ask because even when you go back and you say, hey, do heels draw money? Hollywood Hulk Hogan would have a word about that. But again, he didn't very often come out by himself either. It was more of a gang presentation. Is that possible for Gunther, or will you have to? Is Roman's run totally different then?
No, I mean, you kind of go look back in history. Oh gosh, Jimmy Hart and the First Family. You just kind of when you can go back in history and kind of look at different scenarios, but I think you hit on a huge what if. Where are they going with it? Because if you take Paul Heyman and Sami Zayn out of the Bloodline,
It's different.
I dare I say it, I think it's radically different, like in a lot of ways. The equity that Paul Heyman's character has been built through, I mean, how far back do you need to go? I mean, you can start at, okay, ECW, but really specifically the Punk story, the Brock story, we could go on and on, but all of a sudden, boom, the legitimate story that I think Paul, for those that don't know, that, you know, Paul Heyman was a young photographer and Afa and Sika befriended him. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a real lineage with Heyman in that family, like super deep. And so I think that always came across on character and Paul's confidence in not only in his character, but in the surrounding cast. And everyone knows that Paul was integral, whether it was Vince or Hunter or talking to the other talent. Roman trusted. That was in so many ways in that entire Roman 1,000-day reign or whatever it may be. Paul was the mouthpiece. And then you kind of throw in, okay, here's the tag teams, Usos, this. But man, Sami Zayn, his ability to create emotion did nothing but rise every tide in that deal. And so to jump to what you're saying, man, Connie, healthy conversation here. To jump to what you're saying is that who has that around Gunther? They've stripped the folks, what was it, Imperium that used to come out with him? I have no idea why. And Gunther, English being his second language, it is unbelievable, his skill set. I still say that, you know, Austin Idol, Dusty Rhodes, we could go on and on. Got to talk them in the building. Got to talk them in the building. Got to talk them in the building. I don't think that's in Gunther's cards. I don't think that would be, hey man, did you see that Gunther promo? It was unbelievable. I don't think that's in the cards. That's not a knock or disrespect. It's just that they're building him as this unbelievable force. Who do they have in mind to be that baby face that really all this work? Okay, let me say it better than this. And this is maybe a Jerry Jarrett lesson. All this equity they're putting into, and you'll probably give a good financial analogy here in a minute, but they're putting a boatload of equity, like you said, in Gunther. Who's the one that's going to take it? Who do they have in their mind today that's taking that? Maybe they don't have anybody, but someone is going to get that will end up triumphing, standing over Gunther, and he's going to be that babyface champion. And then we're going to see if business is lifted.
Paul Heyman once, in a casual conversation where he was just telling people around about wrestling, and I was lucky enough to listen in. He basically broke it down, and he said, in wrestling, oftentimes your top stars fall into two categories: your attractions and your opponents. Would you categorize Gunther as an attraction or an opponent?
Why? The old wise man is wise. He's an opponent.
Mm.
I don't say that out of at all disrespect. Like not at all.
Can you give, just to give the parallel, because I know that people will clip this out and say that, you know, even though you didn't say it, they're going to say Double J says Gunther is not an attraction. Can you give us some other guys that you are close with or that are near and dear to your heart that you would say, hey, I'm not saying that ugly. I mean, my pal so and so is the opponent. Does that exist for you?
Oh man. Give me some help with some recall, because
Well, let's do this. Was AJ Styles the attraction or the opponent?
he went from the opponent to the attraction. I personally believe he developed into the attraction.
When you were a heel running the roads in WWF or TNA, were you the opponent or were you the attraction?
The opponent. Razor Ramon was absolutely the attraction.
That's all I wanted you to do, because you and I've had this conversation years ago offline, and you said, hell, Connie, I was the opponent. And I just wanted you to, because I know when you say Gunther's the opponent, you're not saying it shitty because you call yourself the opponent.
From the day I started TNA, contrary to what folks believe,
yes,
I wanted to build myself as the no good, worthless, arrogant. Maybe some folks know he's running the show. Maybe some dokes. I didn't want to dive into that just because of the era, but I wanted to be that opponent, and I was going to give AJ Styles equity, and I was going to give just fill in the blanks. As we've said many a time on here, when the Olympic gold medalists entered the scene, my days of being the opponent were removed. I tried to make that belt the biggest prize in all of TNA fandom, all of the entire TNA world, and that was what I put all my equity in. I tried to, and to this day, people are like, "Oh shit, how many different reigns did he have?" Well, if you take a step back and look, it certainly wasn't perfect, but it was profitable, and it built and built and built and built and built. And that's what it's about. But AJ, you know, in the early days, we built him up. It's just kind of part of the storytelling. Yeah. So I don't take being the opponent at all. Zero disrespect, none. And to be real box office attractions, boy, they are so few and far between. And that is why my dad made sure Jerry Lawler had points in the company, and you could go down the list of others. When you get an attraction, that's when the promoter, the boss goes, let me wait. Hey guys, let me talk to Stone Cold. Let's see what he thinks about it, because he's the one that is putting butts in seats. That really, really matters. And you handle attractions completely different.
Hey man, if there's one thing that Jeff and Karen and myself and Megan, we all agree on, is that we love our dogs. We recently got a third dog here in the Thompson household, Little Daddy. And right before he came to join our family, I learned something new thanks to our friends over at Better Wild. You know, for as long as I've had them, it felt like Ginger and Baby have scratched at their ears and chewed at their paws. And I just thought, hey, that's just what dogs do. Turns out, these are not normal dog behaviors. They're actually signs of allergies. You see, allergies in dogs flare up when the bad bacteria takes over in the gut. Did you know like 90% of your dog's immune system lives in the gut? Well, it turns out just like humans, dogs need probiotics, or the good bacteria, to strengthen their gut health and calm their overactive immune system. Better Wild Allergy Soft Relief Chews have been a game changer for the Thompson household. Our dogs are happier than ever. This is a supplement designed to support your pet's allergy defense system by first strengthening their digestion. You see, these are the first and only chews with the Ancestral Advantage Wolf probiotics, all derived from your dog's mighty ancestor, the wolf. It's going to help restore a healthy balance of that good bacteria in the gut. So not only do you get the Ancestral Advantage, but you also get L-Sacchi, which is a postbiotic that's been derived from kimchi that's clinically proven to reduce itchiness and redness in just 2 months when you use it daily. But you also get colostrum. That's going to help your dogs actually fight off their inflammation and boost their immune function. But the salmon oil, well, that's here to help support healthy skin and fur. My dogs are happier than ever. I haven't seen any scratching of the ears. I haven't seen any chewing on the paws. Little Daddy is getting it done right, thanks to Better Wild, and Ginger and Baby are getting those benefits too. If you love your dogs, help us take better care of them with Better Wild. You see, Better Wild is committed to helping our dogs with science-backed, veterinarian-approved solutions that we can feel great about. And right now, Better Wild is offering our listeners up to 40% off. You hear me? That's right. 40% off your order at betterwild.com/myworld. That's betterwild.com/myworld for up to 40% off your order. betterwild.com/myworld. I feel like we should mention, as we're talking about you as the opponent, you were the opponent who dropped the NWA world title, which was the big belt in TNA, not once, not twice, but 3 times to AJ Styles. You put a lot of your equity that you had built as a character on TV for over 10 years straight into AJ Styles, and you did it over and over again. And we know he became, by modern standards, he was the John Cena of TNA.
Oh, shit.
And I know that there were, different views throughout management and the various changes that happened within that company about how to best position AJ and where he should be slotted on the card. But I think a lot of people, Eric Bischoff, myself, and you just admitted you as well, we all sort of view AJ as a TNA guy. No matter what you call him now, though, you can't call him a WWE guy. On the way to this event last week, and we were going to talk about it here on the show, if you had power, but you didn't, and we're glad you're back, that TNA was one of the more recent places we saw AJ Styles. He was at their debut on AMC and sort of eyeing up Frankie Kazarian and the TNA world title. And then later in the week, we saw, wait a minute, apparently AJ has filed for a trademark opportunity for his P1 logo, which was the Phenomenal One logo. And that got everybody speculating, oh, this must mean he's not done. He's going to the Indies. And I tell you, if nothing else, the Unreal show that WWE does on Netflix, where they show you the behind the scenes, well, that made me bite pretty big. And I said, oh, they're intentionally planting this, especially when Nakamura comes out on Instagram, a contracted WWE performer, and says well in advance of the Royal Rumble, oh, AJ's retiring at the Royal Rumble. I said to myself, there's no way they're this fast and loose with this story. He's not going anywhere. This is a part of a story. Now, you and I have heard that is not the case, that he's finishing up. And I don't know what's real and what's not real. And we don't know what will change or won't change in the coming weeks and months. But where it stands right now, do you believe that we've seen A, the last of AJ in WWE, and B, the last of AJ in the squared circle?
I have no idea about the first question. I really don't, but we have not seen the last of AJ Styles in the ring. I just, and look, it may be a year, it may be 2 years. I don't know, but AJ, if you watched that match and the false finishes and, in my mind that, where Conrad, I thought you might go with some of this. Well, now, wait a minute. Hey, Jeff, AJ did the job on the way out. You're not saying anything. I thought the finish to the match was done really well, and both guys got over. Again, to not to go back, I put John Cena, and this is where I'm going with this. Maybe subconsciously, this is why I think it's a big difference. And I know there's a lot of differences, but John has been, in a lot of ways, is the face of WWE. And for him to kind of give up on that finish, just I felt emotionally wasn't there. What AJ did and how that finish went down and the false finishes and the different curves and all that, I really thought it helped. I think out of Goldberg, Cena, am I missing one? And AJ. Is there one more? Anyway, out of those three, I thought Gunther built more equity in the Gunther character by beating AJ than the others by far. And so I think that was well done. But no, I don't think we've seen the last of it. You know, and the taking of the off the gloves and not all that kind of stuff. It's curious. It's definitely. I can't think of it's certainly right up there in the top 3, top 5 stories of what's going to happen next. I think AJ's stock, if you will, if he's on the ticker, Conrad, wouldn't you say his stock over the last week or two has risen? Would you buy AJ stock right now?
Oh yeah. If we were giving stock recommendations, I would give it a buy. That's for sure.
Okay.
I do want to ask you. You know, I was fortunate enough to be able to watch the. That's the only match I didn't miss a minute of. I was glued to that one. Wanted to watch the entire thing. And at my left elbow was Eric Bischoff. Eric is a huge fan of Gunther. Loves the throwback. Loves the feel. But he was sort of nonplussed on the sleeper finish. I know they're trying to get that over, but I think he feels like, you know, that is kind of anticlimactic. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, but I know that Tony Schiavone, for instance, he absolutely hated the War Games because he felt like you get the big pop from the fans, and that's what Tony Schiavone has been raised to believe is what you're looking for, is to elicit a big crowd reaction. When you've got the tease and the anticipation of the 1, the 2, and then he got him, or no, he didn't. Whereas, you know, a tap out or passing out or whatever, it doesn't feel as explosive. You can't get that big reaction. Do you think that, how do you feel about the sleeper finish? Does it work with Gunther? Would it work with anybody? Talk to me about that.
Oh, Gotti. Can we go back to a 2-shot? Gotti. Right now, I'm looking at ourselves. I'm looking at seeing me in one box and you in another. And you literally asked me that. You know the guy online that impersonates you?
Yes.
I mean, Gotti, you asked that with a straight face, like, Jeff, you know, does it work for Gunther? Does it work? Pal, I'm going to give you the yin and the yang. I don't know if you know how I feel about submissions, but I think submissions done right. And I hate to get too old school, but it's really not old school because I think there's a time and place for everything. But when you juxtapose Kurt Angle's ankle lock, that he would get it on and false and twist out of it and go into another spot and almost get it or get to the ropes. Or how this is, or you have it, the guy gets throat, and when Kurt would pull him back in and then sit down on it and lock the legs over it, the emotion, and then the camera and a snap zoom on the talent's face that's tapping, and all this. There's just a boatload of emotion. When a guy goes to sleep, it's the anti of what professional wrestling is. Make sure we're going to get you in a submission, and I'm going to try to cover up the face almost as much as possible. And when I do that, you can't have any emotion because you're supposed to be going to sleep. I just think it is the most unemotional. If that's what they're going for, boy, Conrad, he just teed this up. And I mean, if that's what they're going for, a non-emotive heel finish, they have nailed it. I mean, they've nailed it just spot on. That's how I feel.
By the way, I love Smart Ass Double J. Smart Ass Double J is my favorite.
But think about what you ask.
No, I mean, here's the thing. I don't understand why it's happening. Like, I'm glad he didn't smile, I guess. I mean,
oh goodness.
I don't understand it. And the reason I don't understand it is, and again, I don't know shit about wrestling. I'm sitting under your learning tree. I'm trying to learn. I'm trying to get better. How do you define what makes a heel? What's the biggest differentiator between a heel and a baby face? What doesn't a baby face do that a heel does? By definition, what do heels do that baby faces don't do, Jeff?
Cheat.
Is Gunther cheating at fucking all?
Well,
or is he just steamrolling motherfuckers?
Okay, so I don't know if you called a couple of things, because like the AJ finish, and I almost want to go, that's AJ 101. because the quick ball shot, then sleeper. Like there's some couple of nuances that you can throw in that you cheat to get to the sleeper. But, and again, look, Hunter may have in his mind that he's going to make Gunther this big baby face, and then you slap the baby face, but you still can't get any emotion out of it. So I don't know. I think it's just very, very interesting, the route on a couple of different deals. They stripped away his, I'll call it sidekicks or his entourage or whatever it may be. They stripped that away. The finish is the sleeper. They're covered up, and Gunther can do it. He's got long arms and long legs, and it looks, if he's in MMA, you go, okay, man, he knows how to work it convincingly and go back to it. But I'm kind of like you that the emotion of a sleeper finish is just way down there on the emotion scale. I've always kind of thought that, the old thing that professional wrestling put in years ago, Conrad, drop your hand once, drop your hand twice, third time catch it. That's adding emotion into it. That, some people, oh, that's old school. Oh, that's passe. It's like, okay, then tell you what, you get them up, and I get their selling and their story and all that kind of stuff. But it's just taking the emotion out of the most critical moment of the match. And that's where, like, ingrained in my brain through the years, over and over and over. I did a quick interview yesterday, and they were kind of talking about the formative years of USWA wrestling, some of the things, and what did you learn about the question I think came up, what did you learn about refereeing? And Conrad, it just kind of, the guy goes, well, tell me a couple of things you learned about refereeing. And I talked about Frank Morrell early matches. He made me laugh, and okay, don't take things so serious, just kind of relax in there, go with the flow and everything. But it just reeled back, and I had to think through it quickly. The first thing that really came out of my mind was, and this is, I mean, literally 101, Lawler called me aside. One of the first spot shows I ever did. Hey, Jeff, here's all you got to remember. Find out what the finish is and don't screw that up. It's the only thing that really matters in a match is when you count or when you throw the DQ out and call for the bell. That's all that matters. I went, okay, that was like 101. So the finish is the most important part of your match. And you just teed me up to good job, Connie, but it's true. I mean, we're healthy conversation today, pal.
All right, by now you know how much we love Blue Chew around these parts, but did you know that Blue Chew's got a brand new thing? Yeah, it's called Blue Chew Gold. It's the brand new innovation from the #1 chewable ED brand. And no, it's not your grandpa's little blue pill. This is a 4-in-1 beast, setting the gold standard for performance. They mix 2 ingredients to keep that rocket pumping. You got apomorphine and oxytocin to turn up the arousal and connection in your brain and body. Blue Chew Gold actually dissolves under your tongue, and it works in as little as 15 minutes. We're talking full ignition in 15 minutes or less. So make your life harder and discover your options right now at BlueChew.com. Stroke after stroke, you will feel like the chosen one. And we've got a special deal for our listeners. Get 10% off your first month of Blue Chew Gold with the promo code MyWorld. That's promo code MyWorld. Visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring today's podcast. Well, before we talk about AJ, because I do want to get back to AJ, the rumor and innuendo is that last year, or maybe it was the year before, one of those years before Vince got in trouble, it was supposed to be Brock Lesnar and Gunther at WrestleMania, or at least that's the reports we've heard. If that's the direction they're headed, you assume that you're not going to put all this equity into Gunther and then Brock beat him. Like, he's got to steamroll Brock next. Like, this is the guy who ended the Undertaker streak. So Gunther needs to keep his streak alive with Brock. What do you think?
I mean, it feels like, and that's where, you haven't touched on it yet on the AJ deal, that if he finished up this quick, is it a page out of TKO's book that they negotiated? It didn't go like either side had planned. And they said, you know what, AJ, you're 47, 48. Let's call it a career. We're going to wrap this thing up. Boom. On because you watch WWE program probably a little bit better. it felt like everything was a little rushed. That's not being critical. Maybe I wasn't following it close enough. That being said, now Brock came back and this and that. Are they going to finish Brock up because of the, he brought him back and the paydays, and TKO's got a answer to Wall Street, and I get all that. Boy, oh boy, it'll be interesting, but it feels like a formality that Brock's going to get choked out, sleepered out by Gunther, and on to the next. I mean, that's what it feels like. It's just a formality that's going to happen at SummerSlam.
AJ Styles spent the last decade in WWE. He won the WWE Championship twice. He was the Intercontinental Champion. He was the United States Champion on 3 different occasions. He main evented at WrestleMania 36 Night 1. It was The Undertaker's last match. People will never forget that during the COVID WrestleMania. He was a Grand Slam champion too, having won both the Raw World Tag Team titles and the World Tag Team titles. So he seemingly did it all in WWE. In fact, he wrestled 885 matches if you combine TNA and New Japan Pro Wrestling. But he had 949 in WWE. At least that's some count that circulated online. He is very much a WWE guy, or was. Now, I guess I want you to, as a betting man, let's place a bet. You think we see AJ Styles in TNA, in New Japan, in AEW, starting his own independent, going back to WWE, or is he going to step into the behind the scenes roles of professional wrestling in WWE or somewhere else?
And I include TNA under the WWE umbrella. I'll just say that. I think that they're under that umbrella. Conrad, and we've had me and you, not pronouns, pal. Me and you have had, I can't ever say that we've had in-depth conversations, but the TKO model. Out of my close personal friends, the history so much better than almost anyone I know. And you've got a business mind, so you're not emotionally attached, so to speak, to, and I'm saying this fighter or that fighter or McGregor or just all through the years. That you said, if I'm a betting man, I feel like we have seen for now, 3 years from now, or a contract linked 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years from now, whatever it may be, you could see him back in the WWE circle, which I include TNA. My gut tells me that AJ is out of that circle because of TKO's bottom line. I think AJ, above all, and we've often touched on this, and that was one of the things that always, whether it was me, my father, my first wife, Jill, just in the early days of TNA, you just, okay, this kid's different. He's just windy. And that's why he did, his wife, Wendy, that's why I didn't want to go up to what was Cincinnati, but it was OVW and whatever Cincinnati was, didn't want to do that. Okay, different kid. And I'm calling him kid during those times. He was very good with his money, never made a fortune, obviously, but very, very good with his money, raised 4 kids. And then the New Japan days, got paid well. And then obviously he's had a 10-year plus run, and so done well with his money. I kind of feel that he was at a stage that he wanted to be compensated, and I have no insider knowledge. It just feels like TKO and him have parted ways. And I'm saying that based solely off of the history you've told me about TKO, that they just kind of farm guys out. And that's how they view things. And it's no disrespect. It's a widget. That's they view talent as replaceable widgets that once they in their mind don't see the right ROI, they just ship out and don't have any emotional attachment. And I get that. So if I'm a betting man, I think we have seen a new day. The trademark was another little like, that's interesting. But no, I don't think we've seen the last of AJ Styles, but I think we've seen the last of AJ Styles in WWE in that umbrella.
I thought it was interesting in the post game show with Rosenberg and Triple H. They both made it clear, hey, AJ told us he wanted to finish. We've offered AJ behind the scenes roles, but AJ tells me he's done. They're so adamant, it makes me think this is unreal. Like,
That's what I'm saying. It could be work. It could be a work.
Or he's really gone and they're trying to cut him off at the knees. I don't know which one it is, but I would not be surprised if this was not AJ's idea to finish up in Saudi Arabia. I could be wrong, but why, respectfully, who wants their last match to be in Saudi Arabia? Anyone? Anyone? I know Shawn Michaels did it, but anyone else? Nope. Not one person. The crowd sucked. The atmosphere sucked. It was not a fun watch on TV. I don't think fans were happy with it. I think this will be known as a more notorious Royal Rumble than one that's celebrated. And I don't know that you know this, Jeff, but on the 23rd of this month, so 3 Mondays from now, Monday Night Raw is in Atlanta. It feels like to me, if you were going to give AJ some sort of proper send-off, wouldn't you try to do it near the guy's hometown? I mean, I know they didn't do that for John Cena. They could have, I think a lot of people assumed, it'll be Saturday night's main event from Boston, which would have been fantastic. But that's not the way TKO does business. TKO conducts their business based on we're going to go where it makes the most money, which is logical. They're doing shareholder value. I get that. But forever and ever, it was understood, hey, so-and-so's last match and so-and-so should be here, there, yon, or whatever. I just think that's interesting. And I want to see where this leads with AJ. I, for one, am betting that we see him in a graphic sooner rather than later saying that he is going somewhere else. I just don't. I mean, when he says 2026 will be my last year wrestling and he finishes up in February, he's done by February. I think it could still be his farewell tour. And I hope that he does some sort of farewell global tour. Works in Mexico, works in Japan, go work for Scott D'Amore in Canada, do the whole thing, right?
Let me ask you something, because this thought has entered my brain, and that may be just dumber shit, but he technically finished up in January. So January.
Yes.
I'm kidding. The old adage, the tail wagging the dog.
Yeah.
Do you think there is a glimmer of a chance that Unreal internally, you got to remember who that cast is, that Unreal now has become the tail, but it's wagging everything. And they're thinking, hey, let's do this story with AJ Styles.
No, I don't think that. I think it's revenue more than ever.
Okay.
I mean, did you watch the whole Rumble or no? Like the whole show?
Yeah. I told you, not all the female, I'm not sure, but I watched the men's Rumble. I was back and forth to Jim, but yes, for all intents and purposes, Cody was dialed into it. So yes, I watched the men's Rumble. Is that what you're asking?
Well, I really just wanted to know. I mean, because there was a comment made to me.
The seats, the lights. Are you going to touch on that? No.
Well, we could, but I guess what I was getting at is someone who's pretty smart in wrestling. I won't say their name, but they were hanging around this weekend. Okay. And that person said, WWE does not book for their fans. And I thought, that's interesting, because we've been talking about that, said differently, where we were saying that the bottom line was really ruling the thing. But when you take a look, and again, I know that, cage match is always going to skew negatively. Royal Rumble is historically one of the more celebrated shows of the year. Fans look forward to it. I said on some of my podcasts last week, this was the pay-per-view I was most excited about as long as I could remember. I was disappointed. I had mismanaged my own expectations. But if you go look at Cage Match, the average rating for that show is a 5.61. Like that's not altogether positive. And I don't know if there was a sense of sameness. I know that Bruce Pritchard, when he pointed out in a clip on Unreal that people have taken out of context, where he basically said, hey, Gunther versus Pat McAfee, it's pretty predictable. And then the internet immediately said, oh my God, he just suggested that Pat McAfee beat Gunther. No, he didn't. He said it's predictable. Could you spice it up? Could you do some gaga? Could there be some more story that comes out of it? Or is it just a straightforward, he beat his ass and now it's over? And fans online were critical, saying, well, that's stupid. Of course he should just beat his ass. But when we actually get that, Roman Reigns was the betting favorite. Everyone knew he was going to win. Liv Morgan was the betting favorite. Most people believed she would win. Drew McIntyre had a great underdog story with Sami Zayn, perhaps getting a win in Saudi Arabia. It didn't happen. Steamroll. And the exact same thing with AJ. I thought, well, hey, he could pop up in the Rumble. Nope, just steamroll. So it was very predictable. And I heard someone say, I thought that was something I was going to zero in on with you. WWE does not care about their fans. They don't book for their fans. They're booking for dollars now. And I get that in terms of booking for dollars, because historically you would think, well, that's the idea. You're trying to sell to the fans. You're trying to draw money from the fans. That's not it. This was a sold show. It didn't make a shit if there was an ass every 18 inches or it wasn't. I'm 1 degree separated from people who traveled over there as fans, and they told me this was the most affordable PLE they remember going to for WWE. The tickets were dirt cheap. That merch and meet and greets were dirt cheap. People were getting meet and greets for $7. This was a paid show. I'm saying all that to say, yeah, so Saudi Arabia wrote the check. WWE cashed the big check. They didn't have to hit the fans' wallets with it. But do you think that, like, I mean, listen, we've heard people say, oh, so-and-so books for the internet. He's looking for the pop. He's looking for the hug. People used to say that about Triple H with NXT. Nobody's saying that about WWE right now, are they?
But I mean, Hunter's the one making the decisions, right? I mean, I'm not exactly sure.
Is he?
Okay.
I'm asking. I don't know. Because the Hunter who was booking NXT, I felt like was booking for the internet wrestling community.
Okay. I see. Okay.
I don't see that happening right now. I think now it's like, oh, they're booing the shit out of me and chanting AEW. I wish they were doing it more. I expected more. What? Okay. Bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see how it works out for him.
Yeah, it is. Wow. Okay, Connie. That's another kind of thought process to go down. Yeah.
Let me ask you this. If Hunter's calling the shots, have you met your new coworker, Tommaso Ciampa? Because you said a few minutes ago, Gunther's clearly a Triple H guy and always has been. Boy, Tommaso Ciampa, he was by definition a Triple H guy. And well, now he's working on Wednesdays. Did you see he's your new TNT champion?
Yeah, a hell of a match.
Unbelievable match.
Yeah, he's great. He's good. I was personally happy for a success story, because I don't know him well, but you can only imagine, you could read the emotion in his gut. He's probably had a tumultuous last contract run. I don't know how far that may be, but yeah. It was a cool moment. I think a real special moment for the AEW fan, because it was again, going back to 101, what I always say, the emotion. If you couldn't get emotional seeing that guy, and he beat Briscoe, like, hats off. Tony, Briscoe, everyone involved. It was a good moment.
Hey, if you're craving nonstop, hard-hitting action, don't miss Relentless, Tom Bocci's new adrenaline-fueled revenge thriller that literally plays out like a Texas death match, from the brutal fight sequences with barbed wire to the insane stunts performed by the actors themselves. You won't believe your eyes. Relentless truly lives up to its name. It's now available to rent or buy on digital platforms like Apple TV and Amazon, so you can watch anytime, anywhere.
These stunt sequences are like nothing I've ever got to do before.
There's a scene that takes place at a car wash. Fighting with water around you, soap, all these like spin. What are those called? I don't even know. Those.
There's just a massive amount of fighting. This is the most in-your-face, visceral film I've ever been a part of.
That's Relentless, Tom Bocci's new adrenaline-fueled revenge thriller. You're going to love it. Check it out. Apple TV and Amazon, Relentless. Hey, that show was fantastic. By the way, if you missed Collision, I want to recommend you go check it out. Tony pulled out all the stops. Not only did we see a new TNT champion crowned, it was Tommaso Ciampa's in-ring debut for AEW, and he beat Mark Briscoe in an incredible match. Mark Briscoe, I'll just go ahead and say it publicly. He is my favorite AEW television wrestler. He's my
I love
favorite television wrestler, period. Like from the serious to the silly, that dude gets it. JR has said for years, you got to maximize your minutes. I think he gets that. So I enjoyed that match, but I was blown away that Okada just sold out the Tokyo Dome, 53,000 people, and he beat Tanahashi in his very last match, a match that broke Dave Meltzer's scale. And his very next match was against Adam Priest from Coleman, Alabama. And I was so excited. I'm sorry, Battleground, Alabama. And I was so excited for my buddy Adam Priest getting to step in there against Okada. That's a big opportunity for any wrestler to wrestle Okada, don't you think?
Roll Tide.
Roll Tide. I love it.
Great. I mean, and folks, again, hell of a collision Saturday night. Watch. And again, I just wish there could have been some emotion and I get it, minutes but even if it's digital pieces, literally a kid from, I didn't know it's Battleground, but rural Alabama. Conrad, we joked kind of, that Tanahashi, Okada, he went from Tanahashi to Priest, but man, you tell that story and it's 1,000% real in Adam's world. I mean, it's as real can get. And buddy, when he belly to back Okada and kind of shot that double bicep sitting on his
ass.
That
was amazing, wasn't it?
So you did see it. In my gut, I'm like, damn right, Adam. That was good. That was a win for me. So yeah, hats off. It's good.
It was fantastic. Love pulling for our friends. And I can't wait for us to talk about AJ in the coming weeks. I have a feeling that this story is not over. I can't wait to see what he does next. I'm a self-admitted AJ fan. I want him to do exactly what he wants to do. My man's been the hardest worker in the room as long as he's been in the room. And if he wants to take a break or he wants to take some time off or he wants to do one last match in every other promotion in the world, why not? I hope he has a lot of fun doing it and stays safe and makes a bunch of money and can retire on his terms. Because Jeff, a lot of guys don't get that opportunity. They have their last match and they don't know it's their last match. So I think that's what I wish for most of all for AJ, is that he gets to have his last matches how he wants to, where he wants to, with whom he wants to.
Connie, this last match thing's kind of
catching on, isn't it?
It's going around.
I don't know if you've seen, but it was just announced that Sandman is having his last match with Joey Janela and GCW WrestleMania weekend. So yeah, the last match is a thing. We did see before we get out of here, I want to mention the first match for the former Powerhouse Hobbs in WWE.
Yes.
He made the big jump. We saw him as Powerhouse Hobbs in AEW. Now he's going to be known as Royce Keys, which I know is a name that has a lot of sentimental value to him. I guess Keys was his mother's maiden name and Royce is his son's name. So it's pretty cool that he's able to use a variation of some family names as his new persona. But really for the first time, because I don't remember ever seeing this before, the big Titantron very briefly says Powerhouse Hobbs, and then it slides in the new name. And I think it even says formerly known as, or I know Michael Cole said formerly known as. That felt like a paradigm shift for WWE. Did you notice that? What'd you think?
Well, and I was just sitting here thinking about AJ. He's had his name the entire time, and it's the equity in what you build in. I think it's very important, but I do think the paradigm shift that you just saw is a sensible one in that, who did that hurt? And historically, and I get it, the chairman had no use in using any other name. By God, this is his name. But I think it is a sensible marketing deal, especially, again, we're in a different era. 25 years ago, you could do that because people didn't know, social media didn't exist. So in a lot of ways, other than the hard, anyway, I'm glad to see it happen. I won't belabor the point, but man, there is so much. And Conrad, I know you're pressed for time and we are, but man, there is, we got a lot to talk about in the coming weeks and months. I'll just say that. I better shut up.
I'm excited for us to talk about it. You can bet your bottom dollar we're going to be watching some old classic AJ style stuff from Ring of Honor and from TNA and others. We're going to celebrate AJ as much as we can this year, and we'll be back next week talking all things wrestling with your friend and mine, Double J, Jeff Jarrett, right here on My World.
Peace.